350,000. That is roughly the number of home fires that happen every year in the United States. And it only takes 3.5 minutes for the flames to reach 1,100 degrees in a fire. Most fires are preventable, and there are things that we can do as homeowners every day and on a regular basis to make sure that we are setting our house up to be as safe as possible from threat of fires. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but what you don't know, don't do, or do can kill you. And I say this with full-on experience, having lived through a fire at my work setting. 22 years ago, while working at a retirement facility as a nurse, I was one of 3 staff on duty, myself and 2 security guards. And we got an alarm on our walkie-talkie system to tell us that there was a fire in one of the wings of the community. And we rushed down there and found that one of the upper apartments in a 2-story wing was engulfed in flames. We lost a resident that night. It was devastating. In one of the end apartments, Anne had gone to the hallway door of the apartment instead of to her balcony door with her sister. And Anne was found right in the hall at the doorway. And it was very devastating for me, being the senior member on duty and knowing the residents as well as I did, having to identify her and call her family to tell them that she had passed. This has haunted me for years. And because of it, I take fire safety very seriously. And while what I do here at Hip Chicks is push you to save money, stress, and time, I also want you to be as safe as you can and protect not only your home, but your loved ones. Make sure you subscribe, because that's always what I'm focused on here, is giving you the tools to be the best homeowner that you can be. So we're gonna dive into 10 basic things that everybody needs to do around their house to maintain fire safety. Task 1 is to change the batteries in your smoke detector. You should change the batteries at least every year, but you want to check them in the fall and the spring. Ideally, you should be checking your smoke detectors once a month. I know most of you won't do this, but it is ideal. Now, some of you may have solely battery operated smoke detectors. So others may have detectors that are hardwired. That means if one goes off, they all go off, and you have battery backup in each. So make sure you understand which type you have and change the batteries as you need. You know that annoying chirp, chirp, chirp that comes from your detector even after you've changed the batteries? Well, that is your detector telling you it's time to change the whole unit. Every 10 years, you should be changing out all of your detectors, whether they are battery operated or hardwired into your electrical system. So make sure that you pull off the cover and check the date. It is often imprinted, the manufacturing date, and the installer should have put it on the sticker on the side as well. So don't count on these detectors to last a lifetime. So if you've been in a home more than 10 years, then you definitely need to check these and change. And if you don't know when they were last changed, you need to get up there and check them. If you have a wood-burning fireplace or a wood stove, you need to be sure to have the chimney checked on a regular basis, at least every year or every other year, depending on how often you are using it. So make sure that you have that inspected and cleaned. You also want to make sure that when you are disposing of any ash from your fireplace or from a wood stove, that you are putting it into a metal container and not putting it into the trash when there could be any burning embers left. Space heaters. There is a lot of dangers associated with space heaters. One, do you have it plugged into a proper outlet? Does your home not have the proper electrical ability to handle the power draw? So if you live in a very old home and you have 2-prong adapters, you may not have enough power or built-in grounded security to run a space heater. So be sure that you are using the space heater in an open area, that it is at least 3 feet away from any combustible. You want to keep kids and pets away. Ideally, it should be placed on a flat, hard surface. And you only want to buy a unit that has a fall safety mechanism built in, meaning that when it tips over, it shuts itself off. And never run a space heater on an extension cord. It should only be plugged directly into a 3-prong outlet. Now let's talk extension cords. The fire that we had at our retirement community happened because of a faulty lamp cord behind a sofa. So it is very important that you do check the cords on the appliances in your home. If you have some antique lamp that was your great-grandmother's and you love it, make sure that it is electrically sound. Maybe take it and have the electrical cord replaced. But do not use extension cords excessively. Things should be plugged into a wall outlet whenever possible. Do not use an extension cord that is nicked or frayed and taped back up. And of course, never cut the 3rd prong off of a 3-prong plug so that you can fit it into a 2-prong outlet. That is danger waiting to happen. Most house fires start in the kitchen, so you want to make sure that you have the basic fire safety of turning pot handles in, making sure you don't have flames too high, making sure that you have child-proof locks or caps on those gas burners, making sure you don't leave anything on top of an electric stove or store anything in the oven that should not be there. When possible, buy appliances that have auto shut-off features. And don't forget about the styling products. If you are using curling irons and flat irons in your house, make sure that you buy them with auto shut-off just in case you forget. Your dryer is another source of potential fire hazards. You should be cleaning the lint tray every single time you empty a load from the dryer, but you want to make sure that at least 2 or 3 times a year that you are cleaning the duct itself, because you want to make sure that the heat that is building up when the dryer is running can escape properly. If it can't, it will create a fire hazard in the house. So you can buy lots of different products that will help you clean out your duct to avoid that dryer fire. Of course, any open flame is always a hazard. We're talking about candles and cigarettes. If you have a candle lit, don't walk away and leave it lit. Make sure there's nothing combustible. And of course, smoking is the #1 cause of deaths in a house fire, is that people have fallen asleep smoking. So 1, avoid smoking altogether, but 2, be very careful that you don't fall asleep. So let's talk about fire extinguishers. It is important that you have at least one in your home. Ideally, you should have one on every floor. We have one in the hall in our upstairs outside the bedrooms. We have one in the laundry room right outside my kitchen, and I have one down here in the basement. So you can buy a generic one that covers a multitude of combustibles and review how to use it. They do have an expiration date, and they also have a gauge on them that will tell you that it is no longer usable. And lastly, while all of these devices are great to help us manage a fire because we know there's smoke present, or we're able to put out that kitchen fire promptly ourselves, it is imperative that you come up with a fire escape plan. You want to make sure that you review this with your family, that you have walked through with your children. Certainly, if they are infants and toddlers, you need to account for who is getting them to get them out of the house and how you're going to do that. Also, if the kids are older, review the plan. Tell them they're going to the window. They are not to exit the door unless you have confirmed that the door is cold, that they can open it, they can come into the hall. You also want to make sure that you have made a plan for your pets. How are you going to get your cat and your dog out in a fire? Will you be able to find them, or will they hide from you? Maybe you want to have a pillowcase nearby that you can put them in or cover their head and escort them out. You want to think about these things ahead of time, because in the moment of panic, you won't be able to think that. But if you've thought about it, it should come back to you and you can act as appropriately as you need to. One really important thing that I learned as a new-time mom from a friend who was a fireman, and I have stood by this my whole life, is that you should sleep with your bedroom doors shut. Because if a fire breaks out somewhere in the house and the house starts to fill with smoke, smoke will go in the path of least resistance, which is an open door. And you might succumb to smoke before you're even aware of the fire. So make sure that you sleep with your bedroom door shut and start that at a young age so your children feel safe and secure, and then everybody can sleep tight and be a little safer. So I also want you to go and check out my blog. Go up here and click that link. It will take you to more information about smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. How many you need, where, when do you replace them, how high you should be installing them. All of that information is there so you can dive a little bit deeper. Now, make sure that while you're there, you subscribe to my newsletter and also subscribe to the channel right here, because I want to make sure that we stay in touch. November is going to be weatherization month, and I will have a whole lot of information about how to prepare your house for winter, how to seal up so you can save energy, so you can be more comfortable, and how to keep out critters, because the mice are looking for a spot for the winter. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time here at Hip Chicks.